I paid extra for the window seat. I was leaving Colorado. I knew it was the right thing to do. My father had passed, and my mom had asked me to come back home. There was a job in Philadelphia that looked like everything. I flew across the country 4 times to get this job. Pharmaceutical industry, perfect intersection of my nursing degree and my sales experience. And there was someone who I was dating who lived there, and the next chapter was waiting. But I paid extra for that window seat because I needed to look out at those mountains one last time. Good morning. Day 32 of Turquoise Rising. I wanted to think a little bit today about what happens when you leave the best version of yourself somewhere and spend the next 15 years trying to find your way back. I was 28 years old when I boarded that plane. And by the time I landed in Philadelphia, I had already been through more than most people twice my age. My father gone at 53, a recent miscarriage, 8 years in Colorado that had made me completely, freely, joyfully meet myself. And now I was flying east because that's what you do when your mother needs you and you're the oldest daughter, and that's just who you are. I hoped I would get back. I just hoped that I would get back to Colorado someday. On the flight, I sat next to a woman whose daughter was on life support. She did not know yet whether her daughter was going to make it, and she told me everything. The young girl had an asthma attack, and the mom had never left her daughter before and went to visit her sister. So I listened to her, and for the entire flight, I did my best and explained what it would look like when she walked into that room, what the machines would sound like, what the doctors would be potentially watching for. She was not alone in that seat for a single minute of that flight. I did my best to offer her everything I could during those 5 hours. And when I walked off the plane through the terminal, I passed a family standing together at the gate, and I thought, how nice that they came to meet her. And then I heard it, the wail of a mother who just found out her child was gone. That was my welcome to Philadelphia. He was waiting for me at arrivals. We'd been dating long distance for about 6 months. He was really excited. I was moving there. We were starting something. I tried to explain to him what had just happened on the plane and in the terminal, and he just wasn't grasping the levity of what I was saying. So I kept it to myself from that point forward. That was a pattern I would repeat for the next several years in that city. Keeping things to myself, moving forward, making it work. The relationship slowly became something else entirely. When he proposed, we were sitting on a dock at a house at the water on the Jersey Shore. Just us, no friends, no family. He hadn't spoken to my mom first. He just came over and asked. Beautiful ring, but it was very uneventful. And I was a little disappointed. And when I made the calls to share the news, I did not hear the enthusiasm that I expected. And the sad part is, I kind of felt that way too. But I had made the move from Colorado. We'd purchased a townhome together. It just seemed like the next logical thing to do. And as I was planning the wedding and booking the country club, bought a dress and the bridesmaids' dresses, migraines started, Imatrax, injectables, Topamax, hives, each with side effects, and none of it was working. I was working a job I hated in an industry that was not fitting to me, and coming home to a relationship that was getting more and more confusing by the month in a part of the country that I didn't feel at home in. Something had to give. And then my brother said, "You know how dad was always so nice to mom?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." He said, "He's not dad." I broke it off that following week. I'm done collecting broken people and being disappointed when they can't reciprocate. I sold myself short for a very long time. I surrounded myself with people who needed me instead of people who lifted me. It took me 50 years to name that pattern and another few to actually change it. But what I can tell you with absolute certainty is that confusion is not an option anymore. Not in business, not in relationships, not anywhere for me. When I was in the last corporate role, the goalpost kept moving. I would build a strategy, I'd present it, I would get buy-in. And I felt like the goalpost would move. And I would recalibrate, new strategy, present it, and then I said out loud to another executive director one day, "I feel like the goalpost keeps moving." And the moment I said it, I knew it was true. I had been swimming in someone else's non-committal to strategy, and it was ambiguous. And it just didn't make sense. And that felt terrible. The clarity I have now and the zero tolerance I have for confusion wasn't an intellectual decision. It arrived in my body first, like something unclenching that had been clenched for so long, I stopped noticing it. Confusion used to feel like a problem to solve. Now it feels like a signal to leave. When the goalpost moves, that's information. When the energy does not match the words, that is really good information. And when you don't hear the enthusiasm you expected on the other end of the phone, information. I spent decades overriding it because I believed my job was to make things work. Somehow, I had to carry it and no one else had to. And I'm building something now where confusion is the exit sign, where clarity is the foundation, where I'm not performing usefulness for people who cannot see it. And the mountains, still there. I've always carried them with me, and I always will. This is day 32, 90 days, live and unfiltered. If you're in your own reinvention, come and walk with Rico and I. Subscribe below and rise out loud.